Vážené pani poslankyne, vážení páni poslanci, budeme pokračovať faktickými poznámkami.
And we are now continuing with retorts to Mr. Deputy Speaker Blanár.
Poprosím spravodajcu alebo spravodajkyňu. Takže spravodajkyňu pani poslankyňu Pleštinskú, aby zaujala miesto pre...
So the rapporteur, Mrs. Pleštinska, is now taking the seat for the rapporteur.
Vystúpi pán poslanec.
Now we'll have Mr. Šimko's retort. Thank you.
Vážený pán podpredseda, vážený pán minister, vážené kolegyne, vážení kolegovia.
Dear Mr. Deputy Speaker, dear Mr. Minister, dear colleagues, I have to say I really don't have a good feeling about the speeches that we have heard so far. I think they're inflaming ethnic conflicts. Let me talk about how we live in the Gemer region, in the city of Rimavská Sobota, where we have 31% of the population who are ethnic Hungarians. We also have some Roman population. And ladies and gentlemen, I definitely refuse and condemn those who refute and condemn those who divide our citizens into classes. We have a mayor and a vice mayor who were ethnic Hungarians. We really make no differences. We have peace. We have no problems. As an official from Rimavská Sobota, I do everything I can to eliminate these ethnic conflicts, and I would like every member of parliament to calm their passion. And it's not our place as members of parliament to inflame these ethnic tensions.
Pani poslankyňa Pleštinska.
Okay, now Member of Parliament Pleštinska. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague, Mr. Blanár, you have attacked the Hungarian but this act, you have attacked the Hungarians, but this act's point is not the Hungarian minority. We have a huge minority abroad. These people are the legacy of non-democratic regimes. Let me talk to you, dear colleagues, in the name of the Slovak diaspora abroad to make it easier for the diaspora to gain a second citizenship. I've received many stories from economically active people, and these people would love to be accepted by their homeland officially, and we would like to these members of the diaspora to attain potential from our diaspora abroad, and many of those who would qualify for the citizenship would have now been citizen had it not been for the communist regime, which has had very anti-diaspora policies. Now Mr. Mizi, Mr. Blanár is not here, but maybe his TV is on in his office. Oh, he is? Okay, there he is. Yes, this proposal, which Mr. Dimeši is proposing, yes, this proposal is raising ethnic tensions we did not have. Well, what can we expect from Mr. Dimeši? Is this fox? He keeps on moralizing, and he keeps on moralizing, but he says that someone who marries into the Hungarian community cannot consider themselves a member of the Hungarian community. Please react to Mr. Blanár and Mr. Dimeši. I'm reacting to the person who Mr. Blanár was reacting to. Mr. Dimeši is speaking in favor of this. Reportedly, he has Czech and Russian roots. Dimeši has lied. There are no second-class citizens. Slovaks have no problem with Hungarians, and Hungarians have no problem with Slovaks. So, what are we talking about here?
Pán poslanec Marek Ševčík.
Now, Mr. Marek Ševčík.
Ďakujem pekne za slovo.
Thank you for the floor. Mr. Blanár, you spoke to many matters, and multiple times you have talked about Mr. Fico defending the interests of the Slovak Republic, and that he did an excellent job at defending the interests of the Slovak Republic. Well, let me just have a short reaction to what you've said. I will react by posing questions. Mr. Blanár, please tell me, how did he defend the interests of the Slovak Republic so well? Was it by overpriced health procurement or business with oligarchs, cooperation with the Slovak Nationalist Party, or further scandals, or did he do so by supporting further oligarchs, or with his corrupt officials? How did he defend those interests? Please tell me.
Pán poslanec Eduard Kočiš.
Now, Mr. Eduard Kočiš, thank you for the floor. Mr. Blanár, you really have just pointed out that this law, which was enacted during your government, was a reaction to what was caused willfully, and Slovakia was just defending itself from the laws of Hungary. I would not consider this a problem. I live in the northeast of Slovakia, and we really have no problems we really have no problems as the majority who are Slovaks with the members of the minority who are Roma or who are other minorities. Someone who was active in the football league for 20 years. I know many tiny municipalities, and I will keep on saying that what they've kept on saying, we never had problems in mixed areas. Slovaks live together with Hungarians, Hungarians live together with Hungarians. These problems are artificial and are inflamed by politicians, whether they are on the regional level or on the national level. This is how the citizens feel in the southeastern counties of the Košice region. No politician has the right to inflame these ethnic conflicts and dangers of nationalism, because we have excellent relations between Slovaks and Hungarians. We've never had such excellent relations. Thank you all for all your retorts. I probably won't be able to address all of them, but let me start with Mr. Vetrak. If you felt my passion, then it was because I was responding to Mr. Dimeši, who said, and let me quote, we are second-class citizens, and I think it's important to stand up to this. This is a hoax. This is an era of hoaxes. So this, what Mr. Dimeši said, is a hoax. I'm just trying to say that this government is ridiculous and undignified, and that they are representing Slovakia in a very undignified way. and this was very difficult for him to listen to. So if I was a little passionate, this is the reason. I think ethnic minorities and members of ethnic minorities, citizens of Slovakia, are definitely not second-class citizens. And this is something I really felt the need to respond to. Mr. Dostal, I know that this bill gives the option to ask for citizenship back.
Tejto vlády, to znamená tohto volebného obdobia, nepovedali, že jediný, kto chcel kúpiť predražené certifikáty,
You have not said that the only person who wanted to be involved in overpriced health procurement was your own official, because it's incredible how you can keep on repeating these lies. This is not true at all, and people in Slovakia know this very well.
V rozprave ešte ako pán poslanec Ševčík, prosím, pokoj v sále. V písomnej rozprave k tomuto zákonu teraz vystupí pán poslanec Milan Vetrák.
The Member of Parliament, Mr. Milan Vetrák, is going to speak now. Mr. Milan Vetrák is one of the MPs who was very active in the amendment process and possibly removing residency requirements. I'm very glad that there will be other colleagues speaking, because we have an amendment prepared. I don't really want to talk about a question of or citizens who are of a different ethnicity in Slovakia. I would like to speak about the goals of this bill and what the government's goals are, and how we have reflected the goals of the government and what we were able to change in this bill. Let me say whatever the intentions were when enacting, practice has shown that this is not a good idea. The effects were not good. Because, as was pointed out, because of 150 citizens that were supposed to affect, we have sacrificed and took away citizenship for almost 4,000 people who were significantly influenced negatively by this law. And I really don't think we should consider this acceptable collateral damage. This is why the government goals have been set to fix this Fico's bad law. Well, this was the law of the previous government. So what is the essential difference? Because Mr. Blan is right that this government was inspired by the regulation of the Ministry of Interior, which talks about 5 years that would be required for people to live abroad in order to naturalize there without losing their Slovak citizenship. Well, the essential difference is that the regulation of the Ministry of Interior is an internal rule and does not create any legal entitlement. This law will now make it very explicit and will guarantee by law to former citizens to actually apply for their citizenship to be returned, as opposed to just some regulation of the Ministry of Interior where they have a lot of discretion. This is not acceptable. So if nothing else, this is a major improvement. And these 5 years of residence are very significant. I will talk about that later. I will be very detailed. We say that we want to make it easier for Slovaks living abroad who would like to get their citizen. This is for SLA holders of the Slovak Living Abroad certificate. We want to make it easier for them to get Slovak citizenship. Last year, the MPs have lowered the fee from 700 euros to 400 euros for SLA holders to apply for citizenship, and what we're now going to talk about, Mr. Grendel is going to talk about that as well. What we're saying is that even without residence in Slovakia, if it's people who have extraordinarily contributed to developing Slovak communities abroad. So what he's talking about is that SLA holders who the SLA office deems as contributing extraordinarily will be able to get citizenship without living in Slovakia. This is something that's completely separate from the discussed provisions. And so if we want to be consistent here and respect what our Foreign Service is saying, we were not able to go further, but we believe this will be a significant improvement to those who are SLA holders. And the second category, which was talking to you through emails, these are the descendants of former immigrants abroad who lost their citizenship because they refused to live in a socialist country and they escaped abroad, most commonly overseas to Western Europe and so on. The Czech Republic has a program for these descendants, for the grandchildren and children. The Czech Republic and these people would like to. These people have written emails that they also like to have Slovak citizenship. The Czech Republic has done it in a way where this category of people can file declarations that they would like to be Czech citizens. They become Czech citizens without residence, and this is what the Czech law says. This is not the way that we want it to go, even though multiple MPs have proposed that we would not like to be worse than the Czech Republic, because this was immigration from Czechoslovakia. Well, the Slovak Foreign Service did not agree to this, and they insisted on including residency as a requirement, and because of various checks and background checks, and so we have reached a compromise, and along with Member of Parliament Dostal, we have met with the Foreign Police, with the Ministry of Interior, with those whose competency it is to grant citizenship, because the Act on Residence is such that you have to give reason if you'd like to apply for residence, for instance, to study or to work or to make business. And we believe that this was inappropriate for descendants to then create sort of a fake residence, an artificial residence, which they don't have in order to get a residence permit. And so we have made a deal with the Ministry of Interior and the Foreign Police that the order of the Ministry of Interior will be changed, and that one of the possible purposes of stay for these descendants will be that they won't have to give evidence of their purpose of stay, but that their purpose of stay will be extraordinary reasons, and the purpose will be to gain citizenship, and this will mean that they will go through the system of the Ministry of Interior, go through the background checks. This will be slightly more more complicated than it is in the Czech Republic, but it is a significant improvement. We have spoken to these people. They have a petition. We have spoken to them over video conference. And this is a resolution that we've reached, and this is acceptable even to them, and this is a major improvement. So I would just like to say that even towards this category of people, this government has done the most that they could, whether it was the members of Parliament of Olano or for SAS Mr. Dostal. And now the third category, the the sort of traditional Slovak citizens who are abroad. They live in various countries, and we have two things prepared for them. In order not to lose their citizenship, they have to have long-term residence abroad. This was due to the Slovak diplomacy. I didn't agree with it, but that was the compromise that was reached. And then there's another. So this is another requirement. Let's look at how we can fulfill these two criteria within the bill. I'd like to point out that this was accomplished partially. So let's start with the concept and what was attacked at the Constitutional Court. And it was whether this loss of citizenship is loss of citizenship, or whether it is taking away citizenship. Because if it's taking away citizenship actively, then it is against the Constitution. But if it is just a simple automatic loss of citizenship, then this is not unconstitutional. And so it's. And so basically how we have set this up is very similar to taking away citizenship rather than loss. And when this matter was brought to the Constitutional Court, the constitutional judges were not able to reach a decision, and the Constitutional Court has never actually passed any decision. So to this day, we don't know whether this loss of citizenship is an automatic loss or rather a authoritative taking away. Now we have a rule that the constitutional judges can't simply have a tie of opinion. Now the constitutional judges have to come up with a decision in any case. So now, if and when this law comes to the Constitutional Court, we will have a definite answer, and we'll leave it to the constitutional justices to figure this out. We were not able to figure this out on our own. And so we simply cannot say that this is unconstitutional. We will just have to see what the Constitutional Court will say. Why is it 5 years? This is because this was set up by the previous government, as claimed by the. This was not as was claimed by Mr. Blanner by the government, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has conducted an analysis of European countries, and they want to show that it is standard abroad to give citizenship and to allow naturalization after 5 years. And this is the reason. So the reason is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and their analysis. This analysis of European countries really proved that most of them have a requirement of at least 5 years. For instance, Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Denmark, United States, Turkey, Luxembourg, Malta, Portugal, or even more than 5 years. And then that would be Croatia, Cyprus, Greece, Lithuania, Austria, Slovenia, Spain, Montenegro, and Norway. So, in the case of these countries, citizens who will naturalize there, we will be able to fulfill the government's goals, because if they naturalize there, it's simply impossible for them to get citizenship in a term shorter than 5 years. But there are further countries which is in the analysis, such as Poland, Romania, Sweden, and we have a lot of diaspora in these countries, or countries such as Canada or Argentina or Australia. So in these 7 countries of the world, the estimate by the SLA office is that we have 240,000 citizens living in these countries. This is an estimate. We can be a little more realistic. So if we say it's just half of these people, and we say that about a tenth of them, so let's say about 12,000 people, but this 12,000 people are in danger if these countries only require 3 years of residence in order to naturalize in these countries that you can naturalize. So if we have Slovak citizens in these countries who naturalize in Australia, in Canada, in Argentina, Romania, Poland, Sweden, Hungary, if they do naturalize in these countries, they will lose their Slovak citizenship. Unfortunately, so this doesn't actually allow us to fulfill the goals of the government when it comes to these particular countries, and so we are proposing to lower the residence requirement to 3 years, but our coalition partners have been against this, even if there is an amendment. But we are not going to support this amendment because there is no agreement in the coalition. But let me say, to conclude, if our citizens in Canada, in Australia, in Argentina, in Romania, in Poland, in Sweden and Italy, if they lose their Slovak citizenship because of this law, as we're going to approve it, and I am going to vote for it because it is good, but if these people lose their citizenship, it won't be because of the MPs of Olano, it will be because of all the other parties and our coalition partners who have refused to lower this requirement to 3 years, and we need to admit that this is the case. And we didn't want to get into the extremes of Hungary because that would require 0 years, but we wanted to lower it to 3 years in order to fulfill the goals of the government. But if our coalition partners are unwilling to go for this change, they are the ones responsible for these people losing their citizenship, and it's very likely that this will happen. There's one retort. The Member of Parliament Pleštinska. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you mentioned, Milan, I have really tried to submit this amendment where I wanted to lower the amount of time of residence from 5 years to 3 years for people naturalizing abroad, but this amendment was not able to gain support, so we don't want to actually lead conflict, so we have retracted this amendment. So let me talk about some examples. Mr. Karas from London, Ms. Cohen from Israel, Ms. Julia Kubish in Australia, or Mr. Marcos Grunfeld in Colombia, or Ms. Andrea Lance living in the United States. I have received many letters, and we don't need to look far for inspiration for legislation. We can just look at what the Czech Republic is doing. Since 2019, they have been allowing descendants of Czechoslovak citizens to get citizenship by declaration with no further requirements, all the way to the third generation, just on the condition that their descendants have lost their citizenship. 281 people have used this as of April. There's a lot of improvements in this act, but we could improve it even further. Reaction to the retort. Thank you for the floor. Just a reaction to Ms. Pleštinska. Unfortunately, I did not have the capacity to figure out other states. Possibly that there are other states, such as Colombia, that our citizens will lose citizenship in even further states because they have further than more than 5 years of residence is required. There are states where this is not required. And so I looked at Canada, looked at Australia, where this is less than 5 years, in Argentina. But there is the risk that there will be other countries. And the last thing to note is I really want to praise Mr. Dostal because I believe he has a similar opinion to us, and I really don't want to I really don't want to blame Mr. Dostal for this because he really was on our side. But I wish that people abroad realize that Mr. Dostal has really done a great effort. So I really don't want him to take the blame for the improvements that did not happen. So Mr. Vetra was the last one with a speech. Now there's going to be more opportunity for speeches. We have two MPs. And Mr. Vetra. Would you be able to speak within 4 minutes? And we're going to continue at 2 p.m. Until then, the session is in recess. Okay, so we have just heard the members of Parliament discuss the Citizenship Act. They have spoken about your emails, about a lot of your letters. Some of you were even mentioned by name by Member of Parliament Pleštinska, and so unfortunately it's just there really was a lot of will and a lot of effort put into trying to get sort of to the level of the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, as the MPs have said time and again, it was simply the Slovak diplomacy that was very opposed to this, and it's simply the Ministry of Foreign Affairs which was unwilling to essentially let the members of the coalition pass an even more liberal bill. At the same time, as the MPs have said again, this is a great improvement from the status quo. This is going to give a lot more opportunity than it's going to give the diaspora a lot more opportunity than what the current law is currently giving. So it's a very good start. It's a huge improvement. Again, unfortunately, because of the objections of the Ministry of Interior, it's not quite as far as for instance the Czech Republic is and goes. But I suppose that's just how it is. I'm going to take a break now, just like the MPs, and we're going to continue at 2 p.m. which is in 2 hours' time.
Vážené páni poslankyne, páni poslanci, budeme pokračovať v popoludnejšom rokovaní 9. dňa 55. schôdze Národnej rady Slovenskej republiky v prerušenej rozprave v druhom čítaní o vládnom návrhu zákona, ktorým sa mení a doplňa zákon číslo 40 z roku 1993 zbierky zákonov o štátnom občianstve. Je to parlamentná tlač 440. Obaja sú už na svojich miestach, tak navrhovateľ, pán minister Mikulec, aj pani spravodajkyňa Leštinská. Ústne sa do rozpravy prihlásil pán poslanec Ondrej Dostál, ktorému teraz odovzdávam slovo. Potom sa pripraví pán poslanec Milan Vetrák. Nech sa páči.
Ďakujem, pán podpredseda. Vážený pán minister, vážená pani spravodajkyňa, kolegyne, kolegovia. Keď sme do obeda
now Mr. Dostal is going to speak for the bill.
Z niekoľkých schôdzí presunutej na tú neskoršiu, tak som si pri vystúpeniach kolegov uvedomil takú zvláštnu vec.
I realized one strange thing from the speeches of my colleagues. I feel a little bit like Bela Bugare, Hungarian minority politician. He, as the former chairman of the Hungarian minority party, I have also he criticized the citizenship law, and I have criticized as well. And this citizenship law caused Slovak citizens to lose their citizenship. Similarly to Mr. Bela Bugar, during the government of Iveta Radičova between 2010 to 2012, I have tried to revert the status quo and go back to the law in 2010, where no Slovak citizen would lose their Slovak citizenship without them expressingly willing to. Unfortunately, we were not able to accomplish. We were not able to accomplish it at the time because 5 MPs of the then coalition, 4 MPs of Olano and Mr. Prochaska, did not agree, and the coalition did not have enough votes. After 2012, similarly, just like Bela Bugar, have tried to change it from the opposition, not as an MP, but I was the assistant of MP Mr. Osusky, and we tried to revert this back to the original. I tried to do it then further as the opposition MP. 4 times I have tried to present such an amendment, such a bill, and Mr. Bela Bugar was an MP, and he did not have enough. He wasn't empowered enough to initiate this change, and then in the earlier attempts he didn't even support the attempts, and later on some of his MPs have supported my attempts, and now I am a coalition MP, but despite my efforts I still was not able to actually revert back to the state back in 2010. So this is, I assume, what Mr. Bugar actually felt like. I'd like to thank the ministry. I'd like to thank the minister for the bill, because it is bringing some change. It is bringing important change. I'm not saying that the changes here are minor. certain Slovak citizens who do get citizenship, who do naturalize, won't lose their Slovak citizenship if they live abroad for at least 5 years in the given country for at least 5 years. And also, there will be some improvements for renaturalizing those who actually lost their citizenship. Before it used to be a regulation of the Ministry of Interior, now it will be enacted in the law. And so there will also be provisions for our diaspora abroad, and by descendants of former Czechoslovak descendants. All of these things are positive.
Napriek týmto viacerým pozitívnym veciam poprosil by som tiež o kľud v sále pána poslanca Šeligu.
I'd just like to ask Mr. Šeliga for
napriek týmto viacerým pozitívnym veciam
like some quiet, please. So despite some of these negative aspects, I believe that the amendment and the bill contains a lot of positive things, but it does contain one thing which I consider significant, and that's that there will continue to be cases where Slovak citizenship will be taken away against certain people's will, and this wouldn't even be solved by the proposed 3 years instead of the 5 years. The only way to actually solve this would be to go back to the status quo of 2010. This is where I would agree with Mr. Dimeši, even if I don't agree with his other views on mainstream media or his support of Fidesz. And I don't think that the Hungarian law regarding citizenship is good. I don't agree with the Hungarian law, but then I also don't agree that Hungarians in Slovakia are second-class citizens because of this legislation. But I do have the problem with the fact that there are constitutional issues with taking away citizenship against people's will, and we can have a debate about whether this is lost or whether this is taking away citizenship. And I suppose that this will have to be decided, and this will be significant when the Constitutional Court makes a decision. Because the fact is that certain Slovak citizens, by getting foreign citizenship, and they don't, while not wishing to actually lose their Slovak citizenship, they still will lose their Slovak citizenship in certain situations. And so I believe that even after the change of this law, which would be approved by the National Council, which is very likely, there will still be the act will still be unconstitutional, and obviously this is going to be decided by the Constitutional Court. But even if the constitutional justices have a different opinion, I still believe that this legislation is illegitimate when it comes to our own citizens. It is legitimate if a state decides that dual citizenship is not allowed, but Slovakia does not have this approach. We do allow other citizens to naturalize in Slovakia without requiring that they give up their original citizenship. We have a lot of people historically who have Slovak citizenship and some other citizenship as well. And this is something that this is not proportionate when we consider that our citizens cannot obtain foreign citizenship as simply as someone can obtain Slovak citizenship. Another important question is the descendants of former Czechoslovak citizens. When it comes to them, there still remains the residence requirement, but there will be no time requirement. So as soon as someone gets a residence permit, the right of residence, they'll be able to apply for Slovak citizenship, which then should be granted. I do believe that we could go further. Mr. Vetak does mention the Czech Republic, which allows the descendants of former Czechoslovak citizens obtain Czech citizenship just by declaration, so it is not even granted. So a significant step would be if we didn't even require citizenship, because this is not someone new who is getting citizenship. This is a category of people who would have Slovak citizenship if we didn't have the totalitarian regime, due to which they or their ancestors lost Czechoslovak citizenship. So it's not just an ethnic link, but this is a link of actual citizenship, which was either taken away from them or from their ancestors, which was taken from their ancestor or from themselves, and this was illegitimate. So let me express the hope that even if we don't solve this today, that there will be political will in the future to take significant steps in the future and to solve these issues once and for all. The next person up is Mr. Milan Vetrak. He's already spoken. He's going to speak again. I am hearing the issues with the stream. Unfortunately, it just looks like my bandwidth is extremely poor today. I've already tried data, but it doesn't look like it's working properly. Thank you for the word. Let me just go ahead and talk about the amendment. It's not going to be lowering it from 5 years to 3 years, but it's going to be the other things that I've talked about in my first speech. And other than me, there's also Mr. Gabor Grendel, who has signed the amendment, and Mr. Dostal, who have signed it. We have agreed that Mr. Gabor Grendel would read the amendment, but in the end, it's going to have to be me. Let me just remark regarding some of the things that we talked about. Unfortunately, the opinion of the Slovak diplomacy was too strict to actually simplify naturalization. For instance, for the descendants of immigrants. But as far as thanks to the goodwill of the Ministry of Interior, we were able to even then still simplify the process a fair bit, and we would be able to get these potentially Slovak citizens to apply for Slovak citizenship. When it comes to the 3 years, they still don't apply to everyone. And especially this goes for those who are ethnic Hungarians, because I'm not aware of any countries in which you can naturalize in less than 3 years. But again, legally, I don't believe that this mode of loss of citizenship is actually unconstitutional, but we'll just have to wait for the Constitutional Court. We still haven't gotten an answer from the Constitutional Court on this matter. So nowadays the Constitutional Court would have to make an exact decision. They would not be able to simply refuse the application. So let me just let me just talk about what the amendment is going to be. The amendment is going to try to prevent the so-called fictitious residence abroad, and the amendment will be fairly flexible and will give fairly flexible powers to the Ministry of Interior to verify whether or not someone's purported residence abroad is fictitious or whether it is real, whether it is actual. Then there's also the question of SLA holders, so that they can also get citizenship without residence in certain extraordinary cases. There are also certain legislative technical improvements, and I will now read the amendment. So Mr. Vetrak is now going to read the verbatim text of the amendment. In the meantime, I'm going to try to fix the bandwidth, but it's just not. It just doesn't seem to be working here.
Návrh zákona, ktorým sa menia a doplňa zákon Národnej rady Slovenskej republiky číslo 40/1993 zbierky zákonov o štátnom občianstve Slovenskej republiky. Znenie neskorších predpisov sa menia a doplňa takto. Poprvé, v článku 1 sa za bod 10 vkladá nový bod 11, ktorý znie úvodzovky bod 11 v paragrafe 7 odsek 3 znie úvodzovky odsek 3 žiadateľovi, ktorému bolo vydané osvedčenie preukazujúce postavenie Slováka žijúceho v zahraničí, možno udeliť tam zavedený odkaz 12. Možno udeliť štátne občianstvo Slovenskej republiky bez splnenia podmienky uvedené v odseku 1 písmeno A, ak po A má nepretržitý pobyt na území Slovenskej republiky najmenej 3 roky, bezprostredne predchádzajúce podaniu žiadosti o udelenie štátneho občianstva Slovenskej republiky, alebo po B má na území Slovenskej republiky povolený pobyt a významne sa zaslúžil o prínos pre komunitu Slovákov žijúcich v zahraničí, z ktorej pochádza v oblasti ekonomickej, vedeckej, technickej, kultúrnej, sociálnej alebo športovej. Doterajšie body sa primerane prečíslujú. Tam za tou citáciou boli samozrejme ukončené úvodzovky. Odôvodnenie čítam teda, bod 2. V článku 1, bode 11, v paragrafe 7 odsek 7 sa slova možno udeliť, nahradzajú slovami sa udelí. Slova 30. júna 2021 sa nahrádzajú slovami 31. marca 2022 a na konci sa bodka nahrádza bodkočiarkou a pripájajú sa tieto slova. Podmienka pobytu sa považuje za splnenú, ak sa žiadateľ na území cudzieho štátu počas tejto doby skutočne zdržiaval. Bod 3, článku 1, bod 12 znie v úvodzovkách bod 12. V paragrafe 8 odsek 1 sa za druhú vetu vkladá nová tretia veta a štvrtá veta, ktoré znejú. Žiadosť o udelenie štátneho občianstva Slovenskej republiky podľa paragrafu 7 odsek 3 písmeno B posudzuje ministerstvo po predchádzajúcom stanovisku Úradu pre Slovákov žijúcich v zahraničí a predkladajú ministrovi, ktorý o nej rozhoduje v súlade s podmienkami uvedenými v tomto zákone. Proti rozhodnutiu ministra o žiadosti o udelenie štátneho občianstva Slovenskej republiky podľa druhej vety a tretej vety nemožno podať rozklad. Ukončené úvodzovky za tým normatívnym textom. Bod 4 v článku 1 sa za bod 19 vkladá nový bod 20, ktorý znie. Bod 20 v paragrafe 8a odsek 5 sa slova paragraf 7 odsek 2 až 6 nahrádzajú slovami paragraf 7 odsek 2 až 7. Nasledujúci bod, koniec úvodzovek, nasledujúce body sa primerane prečíslujú. V článku 1 sa za bod 20 vkladá nový bod 21, ktorý znie bod 21 v paragrafe 8a odsek 10 čtvrtá veta znie.
So Mr. Vetrak is still quoting or reading the amendment to the citizenship bill verbatim. Again, these are just some certain technical improvements to the bill. There's going to be one provision for SLA holders, those SLA holders who have no other qualifying ancestor other than those who qualify them for an SLA. They will also be able to get citizenship without residence in Slovakia, but this is only going to be in extraordinary cases. And it would require that the person has extraordinarily contributed to a diaspora community abroad, and so this is something where the SLA office would have to give a favorable report saying that the given person has contributed extraordinarily to a diaspora community abroad.
Podľa predchádzajúcej vety preukáže, že podmienka pobytu podľa prvej vety nie je splnená, ministerstvo zašle tomu, kto oznámil nadobudnutie cudzieho štátneho občianstva, písomné oznámenie o strate štátneho občianstva Slovenskej republiky podľa odseku 1 písmeno B a o vykonaní záznamu o jeho strate v ústrednej evidencii nadobudnutia straty štátneho občianstva Slovenskej republiky a v registri obyvateľov Slovenskej republiky. Bod 9. V článku 1 sa vypúšťajú body 32 a 33. Bod 10. V článku 1 sa za bod 44 vkladajú nové body 45 a 46, ktoré znejú. Začiatok úvodzoviek, bod 45. V paragrafe 16 a odsek 1 druhej vete sa vypúšťajú slova, ktorá je rozhodnutím súdu pozbavená spôsobilosti na právne úkony alebo, a pod 46 v paragrafe 16 a odsek 2 tretej vete sa vypúšťajú slova, alebo je pozbavený spôsobilosti na právne úkony. Koniec úvodzoviek za normatívnym textom. Bod 11. V článku 2 sa slova 1. júla 2021 nahrádzajú slovami 1. apríla 2022. Ešte by som rád uviedol, že v súvislosti s týmto predloženým pozmeňujúcim návrhom navrhujem vyňať bod 2 spoločnej správy výborov na samostatnú
Mr. Vetter is still talking about the amendment that they're submitting right now.
Si to vedela poznamenať, čiže bod 2 spoločnej správy na samostatné hlasovanie. Ja ďakujem veľmi pekne za pozornosť.
And that's the end of Mr. Vetter's speech. And he's saying that he'd like to ask everyone to support and to vote for this bill. All of the diaspora has been waiting for this for months and even years, we could say, because since Mr. Fico's law has been in force for many years, and I believe the minister is of the same opinion, and not just the coalition, but also the opposition, if they care about our citizens abroad, their MPs. The debate is hereby finished. The minister does not want to speak, and now the rapporteur is now asked to perhaps have a speech if she'd like, and to also announce the term of the vote, date of the vote. Dear colleagues, I would like to ask you for support of this bill. I believe that it will help Slovak citizens. We will vote today at 5 o'clock. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, and this matter is now postponed for the vote. All right. This is it for today until
poslancov Tomáša Tarabu, Štefana Kufu a Filipa Kufu.
Yes, this is pretty much it for today, and we are going to they're going to vote basically at 5 o'clock, yeah, so you've heard the MPs. There was some talk about the diaspora. They want to make it very clear that especially Mr. Dostal and Mr. Vetrak, that this diaspora is not something that no one cares about. That they definitely would like to introduce legislation which would allow Slovak descendants abroad to naturalize. Also, there was a lot of talk, obviously, about the dual citizenship provisions, those that are relevant to those who are already Slovak citizens or who lost their Slovak citizenship after the year 2010. And this was sort of the main part of the debate. I guess I'm going to hang around for the next 10 minutes. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. I understand it's quite laggy, but I'll try my best to answer your questions. And again, as I said, that is it for today. There was not many, I suppose, surprises as far as the act is concerned. Now they're going to have to vote on the act at 5 o'clock. I'm not going to stream that because it's very much expected that it's going to pass the vote in the second reading. They will still have to have a third reading. And the third reading usually is just technicalities, and it is the final vote within the Parliament. Once it passes through the third reading, the Parliament is basically has approved the law, and then it goes for the President for a signature. The proposed effective date is actually April's 1st, so it's April's Fool's, and that would also concern the provisions that concern descendants of Czechoslovak citizens, and so essentially anyone qualifying will be able to apply starting April 1st, if obviously the law is passed through the third reading today at 5 o'clock in the second reading, and then in the third reading subsequently, and then obviously by the president as well. But if all of that goes to plan, which it looks like that it has, because the major cause of the delay was actually that there was disagreements in the coalition. Now it seems those disagreements are over and that a compromise was reached. And so, as I said, it's very likely that this will be effective by April 1st. And those who are eligible will be able to apply by April 1st. So Parviz has a question. Do people who qualify for SLA but not Slovak or Czechoslovak great-grandparents may actually have a shot at citizenship? Well, I mean, they always have a shot at citizenship. It's just that currently it requires 3 years of residence. But part of what Mr. Vetrak has proposed has actually been that there will be an exception for SLA holders who have whose contributions were extraordinary to the level where the SLA office endorses those SLA holders, and the law would actually allow the Ministry of Interior to grant citizenship to those people without residence in Slovakia. So it would be possible for someone with just an SLA card, an SLA certificate. However, at the same time, the language is quite clear. It would require extraordinary contribution to the given sort of diaspora community. So I imagine it's going to be very, very difficult to get that endorsement by the SLA office. But it is going to be in the law. It's going to be a possibility. As for the question of the residence requirement, it's obviously going to stay there. The law is now set to pass as proposed, and so that is basically going to be the same. At the same time, there is indications, and Mr. Vetrak actually spoke of this in Parliament, where they are going to have